Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries, sure would
All
help.
right, welcome. What's up, everyone? Episode 8 of the Go for 222 podcast. I'm the commish. We have a great episode for you today. We're going to talk to Mike Fasano, Shitters Full, who is taking the league by storm, racking up the points, racking up the wins, sitting atop the league. We're going to talk to him about fantasy football. We're going to talk about the Giants. He was recently at the Giants-Commanders game at MetLife Stadium. And then we're going to forecast into this coming weekend where the Jets and Giants are going head-to-head. I am extremely excited about that match, and I want to get his thoughts. Also, like I said previously, we're here to teach you something, right? So we have the professor himself, G-Man, Gary from Maintenance. He is going to talk about the anatomy of a trade, the psychology of a trade analyzers, what goes into a trade, why trading is fun. He's our resident trader. So we have a really great segment lined up for you about trades. And let's get into it. Week number 7 in the books. And I am just happy to share that I didn't think this day would come, but it came. I am actually the winner of the pub sub this week. Uncle Joe, I am terribly sorry. All my players came to show up, and they showed up big. I hit every yardage bonus. I racked up 214 points. So by far my best performance of my entire career, and I am excited that I get the pub sub, except I don't have a Publix nearby, so I will have to go to a deli and get a delicious sandwich, which I'll share with you guys next week. Going around the league, Devin pulls out another win. He is creeping up from his spot, and he gets a nice win over the G-Men. Tough fought battle. The Gavones, Uncle John, again on fire, now in the 5th position in the league, entering the playoff contention here with a win over the Pax Mafia, riding the coattails of Pat Mahomes, who lit it up this week. I think he got 45 points or something like that. So good job to Uncle John. Aunt Jackie was about to have a total fire sale of the entire Bills roster, so I hope that things settle down there in Buffalo. Nickel versus Mike Fasano. Again, Mike, the juggernaut, out on top again. Really close matchup, but Mike continues to soar. Tyreek Hill, just a ton of players Keenan Allen. These guys are just off the charts. So Mike is continuing to rack up points there. And unfortunately, the bullshitter ran into Zach this week. Very close match, but Uncle Mike, it puts you down at the bottom of the ranking again. We'll have to talk to you soon to get your thoughts, but you were up there for a little bit. You were up in the 7 spot, but now you're back down to 10. It's a long season left to go. Speaking of the season, I want to talk about the playoffs. It's been a question's been asked by my loyal fans. How do fantasy playoffs work? So here's how it works. The playoffs, the regular season ends week 13 of the regular NFL season, and then the playoffs begin week 14 of the NFL season. So it goes weeks 14, 15, and 16, with week 16 being the championship game, which I'll get to in a second. So starting week 14, the top 6 players in the league, so if you're ranked numbers 1 through 6, you will be in the playoffs. Numbers 1 and 2 get a bye week that first week. So right now, if the playoffs started today, it would be Mike and myself. And then it would be Zach versus Uncle John and Aunt Jackie versus Uncle Joe. Now, things can change up until week 13. These things can all shift and change. The winners of those quarterfinals go on to a semifinal against myself and Mike. And then the winner of the semifinal goes on to play a championship game. And that weekend is December 19th through 25th. So Christmas Day could be the deciding factor, the championship game. For some of us in the league. So that's how the playoff works. It does not work. It does not correlate at all to the playoffs in the NFL. It just focuses on only the regular season. And it doesn't focus on week 17. There are too many variables in week 17 that screw things up. So we're focusing on weeks 14, 15, and 16. Okay. So we are going to talk to Mike Fasano. We're going to talk to Gary about some trades. And we'll wrap up. And we'll see how week 8 goes, or week 7 in the NFL season goes. So stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, my first guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. You might see him as you look up at the standings. He's our number one player in the league. He's the shitters full. I like to call him Mike, not to be confused with the other Mike that has been on the Bullshit podcast here. Just a couple of stats before I introduce Mike. He is a 3-time league winner. He's got a plus 765 winning percentage, 2-time platinum award winner according to Yahoo. Some of the best team names I've ever seen. Lights, Camara, action. That's what Sneeze. That's what Sneeze said. What would Jones Drew? Ladies and gentlemen, my brother-in-law. Welcome, Mike, to the studio. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
That was quite the introduction, but I like to just say shitters full, straight off the couch.
And now you are affectionately known as Shitters Full, straight off the couch. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good. And I'm actually on the couch again, so here I am.
Listen, that's where we need to be at this hour.
Yes.
So I want to start by congratulating you. Your pre-draft grade for this league, and we'll get into the Giants and all that, but your pre-draft grade when you drafted, you got an A. And I think that your team is living up to the expectations. What do you think about this, man?
Well, I'm no bullshitter or Pax Mafia or the Gavones, Gabagools, or G-Man, but
No, but you're the
we'll
shitters.
See what happens. We'll see what happens. There's still a lot of games left to play.
Well, it is, yeah, a lot of games left to play, but what's astounding is you have scored so many freaking points. Like your team, when you win big. So who's your MVP right now? Mid-season MVP. Who would you say on your team?
I don't know. I'd really have to take a look at the lineup. I would say let me think about it. Maybe Keenan Allen, honestly.
Yeah.
I wasn't even expecting him to do as good as he's been doing.
Dude, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, of all your players, like you had Cooper Kupp. He was injured most of the season. I would say Keenan Allen is a surprise. Maybe Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill is amazing. The cheetah.
Tyreek Hill is a monster.
He really puts up numbers.
And you pulled off A-Chain off the waiver wire. He was awesome before he got injured. So your team is stacked, man.
Yeah, the problem is the way I draft, I never get a good quarterback at all. So I'm always constantly streaming quarterbacks off of the waiver wire, and my quarterbacks just flat out suck. So I do have depth on the bench, and my team puts up points, but I'm always streaming like a decent quarterback who gets like 15 points a game maybe, while other guys like Josh Allen are putting up 35 points a game, and Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. So really, the sacrifices are made, but it is what it is, you know?
I feel like 12 years ago when we first started playing and it was always the mentality, like draft a quarterback late, get a running back, get 2 running backs. But now the quarterback it's essential. Like if they're scoring 25, 30 points a game with their legs even, and like Jalen Hurts, Uncle Mike has Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
he rushes for like a touchdown a game at least. Like you now have to flip your mindset.
Yeah, you completely flip your mindset, and that's the thing. Like, I haven't even seen that ever before in a draft. Normally, I wait till like the 7th to the 10th round to draft a quarterback, and this year I'm seeing people taken in the first and second round, late first, second, third round, and by the time I go to get somebody, people are drafting their backup quarterbacks, and I'm just completely screwed. So this is change a lot of things.
This is the first year I actually drafted an elite quarterback. I'm with you. I never do. You saw me. I would draft Russell Wilson every year just because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But this is the first year I went after one of the top 4, and I think it's been helping. But
yeah, absolutely. And you can tell it helps because the people who have good quarterbacks are usually up at the top of the league.
Yeah, and but you're piling it on. Like your guy, like Tyreek Hill, a couple of 50-point games. The guy's on fire. So that was I think that was your first pick or one of your first picks. It was big.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy about it is I really didn't do any like homework this year on
Right.
drafting. I kind of just let the players, come to me during the draft. I really had, I didn't do any research at all. I basically just went the day of the draft and I signed on and I saw the players. I know who's available, and I just let them fall where the chips may, and
Yeah. So
that's it.
you weren't like reaching for anybody specific. You kind of had a general idea of what you would do,
Yeah.
take the best player available.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just take the best player available at any position and just, rolled with it basically.
Well, it's working well for you. And speaking, so that's the fantasy world, but you and G are living life right now. Came back from the Giants Commanders game with a huge win. How was it there at the stadium? How was the energy?
Oh my God, it was amazing. You know, we've been to so many Giants games over the years.
Yeah,
It's crazy. And the energy at this game, for some reason, it was a sold out crowd. It was just awesome. It was good to see them win finally, because if they did not win this game, I know for a fact they wouldn't have made the playoffs. They're probably still not going to make the playoffs, but for years we're on a dry streak. G and I going to games, every single
really.
game that we go to, they lose. Like
Is that
we
right?
can't even remember the last home game that we went to that they actually won a game, and that
Is
was
that right?
probably five. I was going to say maybe 5-6 years ago, but it's been a really long time.
Yeah, you guys
So,
usually get to a game a season too, so it's not like you haven't. It's been a long time. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you guys went to a playoff game many years ago.
yeah, we went to a playoff game, and the Giants got absolutely smoked. It was against the Panthers. I forgot what year it
Was
was.
that the snowball game?
No, no. Oh
Oh,
my
okay.
God, no. But I can tell you a little bit about the snowball game.
Oh, yes.
So that was actually the first game that I've ever been to in my entire life. I
Oh,
was 7 years old, so I was a young kid. I knew nothing about football, and it was a father taking his son to the game for the first time. There was snow all week in New Jersey, New York, and the metropolitan area. So it was snowing. The weather was really crappy out, and a few hours before the game started, there was actually a new snowstorm that started to hit the metropolitan area. So the grounds crew, they didn't have any time to clean up the stadium. So and let me give you a little bit of background on this game. The Giants were a 5-10 team this time. It was the Dave Brown era. They absolutely sucked. They were coming off another disappointing
Dave
season.
Brown.
Yeah, Dave Brown and the Chargers, San Diego at the time.
Right.
They were coming into town, and they had to win this game to make the playoffs. So everything was basically riding on this, and this was the game before Christmas Eve. So it was December 23rd of 1995.
Wow.
And the Giants jumped out to a 17-3 halftime lead. And slowly but surely, the Chargers cut into that lead. Around the fourth quarter, tensions really started to rise in this game, and the Giants fans were just disgusted at the game. They were disgusted at the play calling. They were disgusted at their entire season, and so the fans were just wanted to show their dismay, and they literally were taking snowballs and actual ice balls, balling them up, and yes, there it
There it
is.
is.
There it
They're
is.
chucking them
And
at
they
the
were
players.
throwing them onto the field. And not only were they hitting the Chargers players, but they were hitting Giants players too. And an equipment manager, I remember at the time, I forgot what his name was, but he got knocked completely unconscious. It was absolute mayhem, and that was at the old Giants Stadium. But honestly, it was a game that I'll never forget. And the Giants pride themselves on being one of the classy teams in football. But it was a far cry from that day. It was an impassioned plea for help for the organization. But honestly, because of the passion that I saw Giants fans display that day, that's what really triggered me, I believe, to become a Giants fan from here on out. From there on out, and there was not many seasons, if any, after that I missed any home games at Giants Stadium. I'll tell you that much. Or
So
at MetLife Stadium now.
The essential question is: at 7-year-old Mike, did you throw a snowball?
Oh, I did, and I got yelled at by good old G-Man. But there was really nothing. There was really nothing he could do to stop it. We actually, Uncle John gave us those tickets. I remember back then, and the seats in the old stadium, they were right at the point where the overhang, basically the overhang was there, but it was the first row where the overhang wasn't. So we had fresh snow right in front of us, and I did ball one up, and I tried to throw it, but it didn't make it that far anyway, and it wasn't a nice ball. So
I mean, how could you not at that point?
Yeah,
exactly. So all right, so that was your first entry. That made you a diehard Giants fan. And you and your dad are probably the biggest Giants fans that I know. And I know that this season started out not so good, but if you really think about it, what people don't necessarily talk about enough is that the Giants had an impossible start to the schedule. 3 games in 11 days. I think this was their first 1:00 game all season. They were all primetime games. So, but even that, just that three games in an 11-game span is ridiculous. I think. What are you seeing now? Do you forecast a change in direction now?
For the rest of the season, possibly. There's some changes that could happen. I'm not very optimistic, to be honest with you. Daniel Jones has neck issues, and that's a major problem.
But Tyrod looks good.
It's not like his. It's not like his knee hurts him or something, or he has a scrape on his hand. His neck is having issues. So Tyrod Taylor played quarterback yesterday. Saquon just came back, which he's my favorite player on the team. But their offensive line is just complete. It's just in disarray, and they just have no chance really going forward. I do think that they may win a few more games, but there's no possible way at this stage of the game that they can take out the Eagles, and there's no way that they can really take out the Cowboys. I think everybody knows that. So
sorry. So what I saw was, and they said on the radio today, it was like a defensive renaissance, right? They started to look alive, and even last week against the Bills, creating turnovers. Let's play this out a little bit. Let's have some optimism. You see this schedule here? All right. So if the offense that they're facing doesn't light it up, I think the Giants have a legit chance. All right. So they're against the Jets. That's a big L for you guys. I'm sorry. You're going to take the L on that one. We'll give our picks on that one. But all right, and then you got the Raiders. They don't light it up. The Cowboys, that's tough. Cowboys will be tough. I'll give you that. The Commanders, you already just beat the Commandos. You did that. The Patriots, the Packers. So I don't know. There's some wins there. There's some wins on the table, man.
I hope so. I mean, it's for the taking, and I am a big fan. So yesterday, after the game, I got a new tattoo, and I hope that it's It's going to bring them some luck for the rest of the season, but you never know.
Okay.
Yeah. Parental advisory, people.
This is exclusive. This is an exclusive. Oh my God, Mike got a tramp stamp.
This is exclusive, so let's keep this in the Valenti Fasano family, okay, guys?
Oh my God. Ah! Oh my God. Is that Lawrence Taylor on your ass? Who is that?
Hold on.
I'm trying to get a better view. Oh my God, my screen is cracked. No, that's just you. I can't see, Mike. Who is that? Oh, Michael Strahan.
Michael Strahan.
Strahan right on the ass.
Yes,
Oh
right on
my
the
God.
arts.
Wow. Wow. You are a fan like no
Yes.
other, Mike.
So I am a big fan, and I see a lot of positives coming this year.
Well, I saw a lot of something. I don't know if it was positive, but I saw a lot of something right there.
Yeah, well, you may have to bleep a little bit of that out. So
Yeah, I might not pass the YouTube muster here.
yeah,
So
because if you get monetized, then you can never show anything like that.
there is
You don't want to get canceled,
listen, my main goal of this is to teach people something and to
right?
not get canceled.
And to bring family together.
And to bring family together as a distant third. I truly just don't want to be canceled at this point.
That exactly.
So
You never know.
so there's a couple things going on this week. This is Jets Giants week. So this is already a lot of turmoil in the family.
Right.
I may or may not be able to speak to you and your father after this, but the other big matchup that you need to be on the lookout for is I believe you and G are facing each other this week in this coming week in the fantasy football league. I think it's you and G-Man week 8 opponents.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So you have a lot on your plate coming into this coming weekend.
So we may go to games together, and we may be fans of the Giants, but this will bring a lot of animosity between us.
Yeah.
I don't know how Aunt Jackie and Uncle Joe did it, living in the same house and being married to one another and playing against each other. It's a tough thing.
One thing that I think it's kind of cool, it's very cool actually, and something that we've heard from previous people we talked to is that how the father son bonding with the football team. I think it's really cool that you and your dad share that, and that I think that is a special thing.
I enjoy it too.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. So
it's something that we have, and obviously, if we've been doing it since 1995 and we still did it yesterday, it's been going on for quite some time. So it's something that I'll cherish forever. And, maybe if I ever tie the knot and, have a son down the line, if I'm, maybe 45 and have a child at some point and a son, maybe I will take him to his first football game at Giants.
Yeah, man,
maybe he'll become a Giants fan. So we'll see.
I think anybody in your wake will be Giants fans. So I got to keep Tommy away from you guys, or else he's gonna suck into
exactly.
I gotta keep him away.
Well, he said he hates the Jets and he hates the Giants, but maybe he'll find his own team. But let's try to get him to become a Jets fan anyway.
Well, we'll try. Yes. What's your so what's your prediction? Final score, Jets Giants this weekend. Final score.
Oh God. All right.
Put me on the spot here.
Let's just do a to be continued, because I can't give you that.
All right. Well, I'll give you my final score.
Yes, let's hear yours.
All right. Jets 34, Giants 27. It's going to be a high scoring against everybody's logic. Jets 34, Giants 27.
All right, I'll take it.
In a high octane matchup.
Okay, great. All right, I'll take it, Joe. It could happen.
It could happen, man. All right, Mike, thank you so much for joining, and good luck to your fantasy team. Good luck to the Giants. I'm praying for the Renaissance.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're going to have to bring in a few different priests, so we'll
work on that. The exorcism of the New York Giants.
All right,
Mike,
good,
take
Joe.
care.
Yeah, have a good night. All right.
All right, that was Mike. Okay, thanks again to Mike and Shitters Full for regaling us with all things Giants and fantasy football. But like I always tell you on this podcast, we're here to learn something. We're not just here to have fun and figure out what's bullshit. We're here to learn something about fantasy football. We have half of our league are first-time players. So we thought it would be awesome to have an informational segment from the professor himself, Gary from Maintenance, my father-in-law. We're going to pop him up on the screen here. Yo, G. Hey. Welcome.
Okay.
Hey, who's that on your chest there?
Forget about my chest. I just have to get something off my chest. Is to confess, Michael and I are very close, and we are true Giant fans. And he didn't just, it wasn't him that just got the tattoo. We got friendship tattoos of Michael Strahan, but I'm a little bit too shy. I can't show you that. But God bless him. He's a true fan.
I can only imagine where that if you put them together. Okay. Anyway.
Yes.
So you are, how do I put this? You take the next step. I think maybe it's the DBA in you, maybe it's the analytical side, but you've taken the last 12 years and you have used and worked and researched and dove into fantasy football more than anyone that I know. You're the guy that comes to the draft with the papers.
I do.
You know, there's always a guy that comes with the papers. You're the guy. And I respect that.
Place. Go ahead.
Well, listen, it's still a crapshoot. Yeah. But you come with the papers. You're very well prepared. You read a lot. You listen a lot. And I think what's the best thing is that during in any league I've ever been with you always want to trade. You want to make a trade. It livens up the atmosphere. It's fun. It's the fun part of fantasy football. And you've been met with some chilly animosity. People don't want to trade. They don't trust the guy with the papers. What does he know? He knows something. Or lately, you've been on quite a run with trades. Well, so I thought it would be really cool. And you proposed a segment. I thought it was a great idea to teach our newbies and even our vets on the anatomy of a trade, the psychology of trades.
Right.
So I leave the floor to you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here. So look, I do love trading, and it is very psychological, very emotional. It doesn't have to be. And I'll show you a chart that I use that, I did work in IT, and I did a lot of analysis, and so I do that. But I will tell you, I'm going to tell you straight off, I'm going to talk about how I think, but I'm going to also, I feel like my glasses are reflecting. I'm going to also tell you that the best trades for me are the ones that people rejected. I have to just be honest with myself. I am so lucky that people have rejected more trades than they accepted, because it always ends up that the person that I was going to send just goes off, or the person that I was asking for, just something happens, or they're just not. So, but I'll let you know my thinking. It probably is. It's something everybody could apply. The newer people like trade. It could be intimidating. So here's what I do. So in my case, I'm going to just say right off the bat, I'm not complaining. This is fantasy football, as you say. It's a crapshoot. Yeah. So what happened to me in like the third week? Okay, Nick Chubb was my first round pick. He got out.
Nick Chubb is a perfect example.
The very subtle worst thing that happened to me was that Aaron Rodgers, as you know, play number 4, went down. My second pick was Garrett Wilson, and I really believe he's going to be wide receiver 1. Like, how did you see the first 2 drives, or in the preseason they Aaron Rodgers played on 2 drives?
Yep. And Garrett Wilson, right up the sideline.
I could see that happening every game, multiple times. So once we went from, it's just a small step down, I guess, from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson. But my team is the lowest scoring team in the league. My third pick, Waddle, had a concussion the first 2 weeks or something, but also they love Tua loves him some Tyreek. He doesn't seem to like Waddle.
Right.
So I knew I was in trouble. So that's where I was coming from. I just knew the season was kind of lost unless I did something. So what I do when I'm thinking of trading, I look at you have to look at your first look at your roster and say, where am I weak? Why am I losing? Am I losing because because I don't have a good running back situation? So I looked at that and I realized that I needed a strong runner. I'm a running back oriented guy. I think that I know lately in fantasy, a lot of the points come from receivers.
Yeah,
I know that, but I'd like to have one rock running back, and that's why I picked Chubb. Best running back in the league, really, when it comes to missed tackles, I guess. And he's the third highest in the history of the league with yards per carry.
How's the yak? He's got a high yak too, right?
He's got a high yak, and not as
Yeah.
high as Michael's yak seemed to be, but
Well,
you know, anyway. So, and without Kareem Hunt at the beginning of the year, Kareem Hunt wasn't in the picture anymore, so he was going to carry the team.
yeah, he was.
So then I went. So that's why I reached a little bit for Garrett Wilson. Wasn't at the right ADP, but I reached from right.
Mhm.
And so I realized that I wanted to get it back. So here's what I do when I'm going to do a trade. I look at the standings. I look for the team at the bottom of the standings, if there is one below me, because it is psychological and it is emotional, and or I look at the team that if you look at the streaks, if I see a team with an L2 or an L3, if those are the first teams I look at, they more likely will be open to a trade. And so that I look at their roster and I see, well, can I give them a running back? And can I get their running back do I have a receiver? Look, don't ever. I would just say one thing. It's almost like a rule to me. It's like, don't trade receiver for receiver or running back for running back unless maybe you're in a bye week and you could do like for like or something, or
there's really no other than just flipping a team. Like, there's no reason to really do that unless you want your homer pick or
right.
I agree. Right. Yeah.
Or handcuff. Like handcuffs I could see.
Right.
So I looked at I saw he was in pretty good in the standings, but Gabagool. So I went to the Gabagools and I looked at his roster, and I'm going to be looking over here for a second, but I looked at his roster in week 4, and I loved. He has McCaffrey, and he had Pacheco, and so he had 2 good runners, and his third runner was Aaron Jones, who is like a mid-range RB2, I think. He could spike at weeks. He actually did spike in the first week, but for Joe, he was already injured in week 2 and 3. He had hamstring. Then he had just pulled I think a 4, and so I said, okay, Joe, the Gabagools may be willing to trade Aaron Jones. What do they need? So I looked and I saw that he had 2 good receivers, decent third, and the other ones are just whatever they were. So they're just the guys, Jags.
Jags, yeah.
So I offered Adam Thielen, who was really hot at the time, and he still is. So since I traded Adam Thielen to the Gabagools, he's been averaging 30 points. He's over 30 points. He's a number 9
monster. Yep.
Right. So see that, and I realized that was a risk that Aaron Jones would come back from the hamstring, but I wanted a solid RB2. He actually re-aggravated the next week, a hand. So this is where you kind of have to accept that you're gonna get screwed just by luck, not by trade. Yeah. And he's been out. He came back this weekend finally, but it's week 7. So then, but that's. I really believe that I never really, and you, Joe, you know me. I really don't ever want to. I don't go into a trade thinking, how can I screw the guy? Yeah, because I really feel like I wouldn't feel right if I thought I knew something really, really like about this guy, he has no arm left anymore or something. I can't do that. Right. But like that was a trade where I know I didn't. It was fair to both sides. I accepted the risk of the injured player because I was in that desperate situation.
Yeah, we've traded a couple times over the years. We just completed a trade now, Breece Hall for Debo. I felt great about that trade because I needed a wide receiver 2 that had explosive, potential. I have Olave, who's not always doing what I need him to do. So I needed help in the receiver, and Breece Hall at the time was on a pitch count. I knew what he was. I thought that was a very equal trade. It fulfilled both the things that we needed. Right now, Debo is,
I know it.
Debo's hamstrung a little bit right now, but again, that's the risk I was willing to take. But I like that approach, and I agree. I think it's psychological. When someone offers you someone for someone else, you're like, well, what does he know?
Right.
And especially coming from you, someone that knows things and listens and researches, I can see people getting defensive about it potentially at first, or in the case of this league, I think people are embracing it. I think they're going with it a little bit.
It's fun. I really love it. You know, Exit 8. You know, in Exit 8, your friends, they won't trade with me.
No.
I mean, it's not that they don't. They seem to like me, so it's not personal. It's just that they just think, well, the guy's retired. He has nothing to do. He's probably looking, instead of day trading, I'm player trading all day long.
No, they think who's massaging Tony Pollard's ankles. Like they think So
I don't want to say that's page 6 of the post. So then so we had a trade, and I give you a lot of credit because you traded a homeboy.
I did.
But and that just shows that that was a really on every level a great trade. So now I'm going to admit again, I have a lot of nuances that are not good for me. Like I said it's psychological. Trading is emotional and psychological. So I get a trade offer from Devin, and I'm still kicking myself. Like I'm thinking, so it was Mostert and Hollywood Brown for Waddle, and I thought about it for a little bit, and I said, no, I'm not a big
trading you Mostert.
He was trading Mostert. I think in the second week of maybe the second or third week of the season.
Oh,
so like it was you're thinking too much about it. Like it was a Devin. It was a great trade. I should have accepted that trade. I thought like I never was a Hollywood Brown fan, and I know I'm wrong because he averages 15 to 18. Like he's solid, but I don't believe he's going to always be solid. I'm not a big Lamar Jackson fan for his inconsistencies. Forgetting this weekend. And I thought Mostert was going to be. I thought Jeff Wilson was coming off in week 4, but he just came back in week 7. So a lot of thinking from the professor. I made a big mistake. That was a trade I should have accepted. And Waddle, he's going to have his ups and downs, but he's not going to get the piece of the pie that Tyreek is getting.
So that's the emotional side of it, but you've actually figured out and found some resources to take out the emotion and get straight to business. So talk to us about like these trade evaluators and how they could be helpful.
Okay. So, all right. So thank Joe. That was a great segue. Thank you for reeling me in.
No, you got it.
So, all right. So I have Breece Hall. Okay. So getting back to my team briefly, I have Breece Hall, RB1. Great play. I love them. Don't have Aaron Jones still on the list. My risk, and he came off this weekend. So I still needed a running back. So I started thinking a little bit big. So I looked around, and I looked at the Mafia. Now the Mafia's team is strong. I mean, it's clearly it's strong. It's in the top half of the league. But I saw that Saquon was coming back. He came back last week from an injury. So I thought to myself, well, I said, how can I get Saquon? What could I offer the Mafia to get this player? Now he's a big name. So I'm going to just tell you what I know about Saquon. And I'm not saying this. I'm just saying, okay, so when you are going to make a trade, you can't make a trade if you're offering a trade, you have to offer the trade based on what you need and what you think it's just like everything. What do you want to pay for this player? What do you want to give for this player? It's not just a name, because a name's got to win you something. You have to say, I like this player, but for only this price. So I had named 2 players on my squad. I picked out a tight end, Sam Laporta, and
who's been great.
He's been great. I think Mark Andrews had a 28-point game yesterday, so I think he took over 3rd place. But he's like the 3rd leading tight end scorer for the season. And what's been happening in fantasy, I know some people are new, but some people are not, and is that it's really hard to win now. It's like the importance of a tight end is a single position, but if you have that distinct advantage over Kelsey or some Mark Andrews, it puts you in puts the other guy in such a hole. Like the other player, like when Kelsey outranks every other tight end by about 15 points a week.
Yeah.
It's like, well, early in the season, how the bullshitter team always had the Denver defense. It was getting the negatives, and he always he was always in a 10-point hole already before the game started. So So I thought Laporta was a valuable asset, especially matching up against the Mafia team. Dawson Knox and Kincaid were low scoring tight ends this season. The Bills they're winning here and there. I think they're 500 now, but Josh Allen's a little bit off this season, and the passing seems really dig oriented. So the tight ends are not very active for them. So the Pats Mafia team is great, but I think the one in my mind, and this is just my mind. So I'm just telling you, just out of respect, that I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm just basically saying, from my viewpoint, what I thought I could offer that team may need. And then Jerome Ford, who took over from Chubb, has actually been averaging. He's been in the 15s kind of area. So I didn't think he was. I thought he was a second good asset to apply. But I also in my mind know who Saquon Barkley is perceived to be in the league. So can you pull up? So then
Absolutely.
I found a trade value. I sometimes refer to trade evaluators just to make sure I'm in the right ballpark. In this case, this trade evaluator, so that first line there says basically it says one quarterback league, I have 2.5 RBs to 2.5 wide receivers because we have one flex that can be anything. So that's how we do it. So I want to see, what does this trade evaluator think Saquon Barkley is? So line 19, I think, Joe. So so you can see all the players we know and love, but in line 19, you'll see that this trade evaluator, just like every projection, is a site, and it's what the site believes, right? So, there can be some variation based on what you think or what another site thinks. But in this case, line 19 here has Saquon Barkley rated as a value of 140, if you see.
140.
Right. So I said, okay, so I would like to offer something close to a 140 value, just to feel like I'm in the right ballpark. So I offered Laporta, go down to 35, I think so.
Yep. So Laporta was 92.
So 140 minus 92 is 48. Mm-hmm. So in order to make this trade fair, feel fair, or you know what, I also worry if anybody wants, somebody complains and they want me to justify it, I would have some justification. So I'm 48 off. So I offered Jerome Ford of the Browns, 55, Jeff.
Yep. There you go.
So yeah. So that's 52. So that actually is probably 7 over. So okay. So in theory and in research, it seemed like a fair trade. The trade didn't go through. All good, and that's fine. But that's kind of how I approach trades that I feel like are like the higher level close to blockbuster trade. Turns out, I would have felt really bad if that trade went through. I think the numbers were the same. Saquon and Jerome Ford yesterday both scored within a point of each, about a point, maybe a point, 0.2, 1.2 points. And Laporta got 11 points. So I would think the trade was fair. But turns out that I just saw tonight that Jerome Ford is out for 1 or 2 weeks with an ankle injury. Madon. So I mean, I would, that GIF that Jackie puts out there. I mean, those Buffaloes would have been. Yeah.
I had it queued up, ready to go. That would have been coming right for you, G.
If that trade went through and that guy got injured, I mean, I think those guys would have been trampling all over me. Oh, you just sped it up.
Watch out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I'm glad that didn't go through, and I think what's tough is that, like you started out by saying, at the end of the day, you can think about it analytically. It's an emotional move, and especially if things are going well for you, you don't want to shake it. It's a house of cards. You don't want to remove a piece, even though that piece is on your bench.
No,
you never use them. One thing that I always like to try to target is I like to at draft time. I like to with later picks maybe pick a really high end handcuff and then try to trade that handcuff running back to the person that has that star running back. Doesn't always work out for me, but I like to think like that, with my later picks.
Right. No, and yes, that's absolutely true. And I actually this year I've been holding in every league Eli Mitchell, waiting for McCaffrey to get injured, and he just he didn't quite get injured this year enough, but and hopefully he won't, because he's great for the league. But I do that because whether this year, not as much as Eli Mitchell this year versus other years, it doesn't seem to be such a thing. But in previous years, that when McCaffrey was out, Elijah Mitchell, or even before McCaffrey got to the 49ers, he's a player.
He was a player.
So I actually been holding him in almost every league I'm in, because I have, where I have a slot for a trade like that. So that's a good way of thinking. But that's just how I getting back to the Mafia trade. The other thing about trading is what one person thinks works. It's what every owner, if we call them that, every owner or manager of a team has a philosophy. Whether you think you do, or whether it's a an obvious philosophy, or just the way you think. And so I also understand the situation where if you have Brian Robinson and you have ATN, you might want a strong third running back. That's actually similar to what I was trying to do on my side. So trades sometimes don't go through because it's just philosophy. And so you just offer it, and if it doesn't go, it doesn't go. And sometimes you're happy the day after it doesn't go because the player you gave away got injured. And
what's that saying? Sometimes the best things that happen that in life are the things that didn't happen, or the things you wished for that you didn't get. Yes. That applies sometimes to fantasy football. Before we go, it's Jets-Giants week. I need your final score. What's your pick?
I'm telling you something. When you talked with Mike, that the renaissance of the Giants, that defense, defense is for real. I mean, it is. So maybe not as elite as the 49ers, but it's really picking up. I could actually see like a 6-3 game. I could see something like that. I can't see the Giants scoring on that defense, on your defense, touchdown. And they're not used to scoring touchdowns anyway. And I really believe that I know the Jets offensive line is a little bit shaky now too, right?
Very shaky.
Yeah. So the Giant defense is peaking. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be less than 20 points scored in that game, no doubt. But I really think it's going to be like a 6-3, 7-3 game.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to get the smelling salts ready. I'm thinking over/under. There's going to be at least like 8 sacks in this game on both sides. It's going to be a slobber knocker, as good old JR would say. So, 6-3 field goal game. I'll take it. I'll take whatever we get.
No, I don't see the Giants winning anyway. I'm a little bit different than Mike. My philosophy is that last year was what it was, but we were still in a real basic rebuild, and I have a little bit more patience. And I will, Joe, if you want to know, you're not a Giant fan, but Mike and I have been to some memorable Giant games. He didn't get to all. But one that I was with Uncle Tim. Uncle Tim and I went to see the Giants play the Vikings in the '86 season. It was the first Super Bowl for the Giants. Wow. And if you want to know how famous this play is, all you got to do is put in Google 4th and 17 Giants. And I was it was a Minnesota Viking game versus the Giants. 4th and 17, the Giants had to win, or really had to continue to win. And it was they completed that. I think it was a 22-yard pass or something to Bobby Johnson. Was like so exciting. It was one of my
so cool.
One of my first games with Uncle Tim, and it ended up being the Super Bowl year.
The Super Bowl team.
First Super Bowl team. Yeah, it was a
nice
4th and 17 Giants. They even have meetings. They talk about it in get-togethers, like the formal, like they had a show on it or something. I saw
the '86 team.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to pick your brain more about the Giants, and you have a rich football history. We talk football all the time, and I want to get more into that in another episode, because you've been watching football.
Oh God!
Since Super Bowl III, right? Yeah. So I definitely want to have a future episode where we get into that side of it. But I appreciate you coming on and teaching us a thing or two about a thing or two.
Okay, that's Glad
Thank
to
you,
do it
G.
again. It's teaching. It's just a view. You can have a different one, but yeah, that was my pleasure. Thank you,
All
Joe.
right. Yes.
Okay.
All right. That was G-Man teaching us about trades, and we'll be back. Okay. Thank you once again, G, for talking about the anatomy of a trade. And we wanted just to show you what it looks like on your end when you are getting a trade offer, and also how to execute a trade if you wanted to. So real quick, if you're in Yahoo on your laptop, you'll see under My Team, G-Man has proposed a trade for you. So you would click the trade, and you would see that he's offering me Art Johnson, running back from Chicago, for A.J. Brown. Likely not, but if I was to accept that trade, I could accept it, I could reject it, I can make a counter offer, and we could do a trade evaluator like we talked about in the segment before. But what if you wanted to make a trade of your own? Well, you would go look around the league, find a player that you would like to target. So I'm going to try to trade Uncle John Patrick Mahomes. So I would go to his team. I would create a trade. Oops, go back. I would click Patrick Mahomes. And inside his game log, I would say trade. And I actually can't trade because I have too many people on my bench because I have them on my waiver wire, but if I, or on my IR spot. But if you wanted to do that, you would click the player that you want, then you would click the player that you'd offer, and then you'd click send trade. So I hope this was helpful. Once again, set your lineups, and away we go. Week number 8 in the books. Take care.